I saw that, and it was not that mic.
Okay.
This mic is still on?
Yeah. No, we shut it off.
That was the one that was working.
Right.
Yes, if you can hear me, it sounds like there's two microphones, 2 or 3 microphones picking up the sound.
Okay, is this working? Yes. Okay, Eric Evans, I'm a resident of Los Altos Hills. In the Santa Clara County Community Wildfire Protection Plan 2023 Annex 4 by DUDEC, they lay out wildfire risk factors for the town. There are 3 primary risk factors that I found in that report that, when put together, pose a real risk for the town as a whole. They call out 3 problematic ignition zones: I-280, Foothill Expressway, and El Monte Road. They call out 31 acres of eucalyptus stands. And the ukes are called out specifically as they're given their own category above all other vegetative cover due to the hazard they pose. They also call out the Diablo winds, which were a driving factor in the Oakland Hills fire and the Northern California fires in October of 2018. The one thing missing from the report was a diagram putting these factors together. The Diablo winds come from the northeast, which is directly perpendicular to 280 and Foothill Expressway. And there are hundreds, perhaps thousands of largely unmaintained eucalyptus trees lining these problematic ignition zones. One eucalyptus tree can spread thousands of embers for miles, putting the entire town at risk during a high wind and severe fire risk event. Many of these stands of eucalyptus are along the designated evacuation routes of the town as well. There are, in fact, approximately 8 very large eucalyptus trees along Altamont Road and Moody Road where they join together almost all the way out of town. It's conceivable, perhaps even likely, that one of these eucalyptus trees could drop a large limb in a high wind event over the roadway, causing evacuees to have to turn around and find an alternate route of escape. We're all aware of the road blockages in the Palisades fire, the Lahaina fire, and the Paradise fire. It would be easy and prudent now, before this upcoming fire season, to remove the ukes that pose this risk. While I haven't read through all the current project documents, the ones I did read through I don't believe even mention eucalyptus trees specifically as a focus or a work item. I encourage everyone here and listening to drive 280, drive Foothill Expressway, look in areas outside the town, like Foothill Expressway for sure. There are hundreds of eucalyptus trees in the path of the Diablo winds towards our town that, for the most part, are unmaintained. Anyway, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you much. Appreciate your time. It's not something we can talk about right now, but I hope you'll talk to some of our staff members as well. To talk about kind of information that goes into the projects we're doing along the roadways and the approach to eucalyptus trees and so forth. Appreciate your opinion, guys. Sure.
I think this is also a matter that might deserve town's attention, plus up to sales town, plus up to see might want to approach them as well. Thank you.
Any other public comments on items not on the agenda? Seeing none here, and I assume
Seeing
none
none
on mine. Okay, we'll move on to item 4, agenda amendments and changes. Any comments from staff on this? Any changes need to be done? Any commissioner like to change anything on it? Expect that. Okay, in that case, let's move on to item 5, the consent calendar. Are there any comments from staff on consent items? Seeing none. Any questions from the commissioner? Comments on any consent items? Pretty straightforward. Again, some really good reports on here, and deserve everyone's attention, especially including the shipping updates and evacuation group work that's going on everywhere. It's particularly interesting. A lot of programs going on, and we'll get a lot more of that next meeting when we get the 4 reports. Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner making the motion, the commissioner seconding, please state your name. Great.
Thompson seconds.
Thank you. Any discussion from the commission? Seeing none. Any public comments? Seeing none, let's do a roll call.
President Spring,
Yes.
Commissioner Kodambi,
Yes.
Commissioner Naka,
Yes.
I forgot Commissioner Ricci, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, Commissioner Warren. And Chair Tyson.
Yes.
Thank you. Warren Sanders. Okay, thank you. 5 commissioners approved with 2 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6, the team cert update. Is that here is on Zoom, but we may not be able to do that.
They will be on Zoom. Yeah.
If that's not possible, we will.
Yeah.
That.
So yeah, apparently, just letting you know what the Zoom people are saying, they cannot hear the commission microphones, or it's very quiet, so if you can all speak. And I think Amita is online. Can you hear us, Amita? Were you going to introduce the team survey?
Yes, I can hear everyone. So yes, we have 2 teen certs that are present today, Audrey and Joanne, and they'll do a quick introduction.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, nice to meet you. I'm Joanne and I am the incoming president for the Teen Cert board. And I've been in Teen Cert for around 2.5 years, and I just like to say that we've really enjoyed working alongside the town and district on various projects, events, and other activities, and would love to continue doing so. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Audrey, and I am the current public information officer and I've been a part of Teen Cert for about a year now.
All right, thank you. I apologize for the mic problems. Can you hear me better, Zoom folks, with this mic? Can you hear me okay?
It is better, President Spring. It is
Okay.
better.
Okay, we'll use this. First of all, thank you to both Joanne and Audrey. Thank you for being here. You're an inspiration to all the CERT members, and we want more of your participation. So we thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of this. I'm sorry for the technical problems that make it a little more difficult for everyone to talk with you, but we really appreciate your time and you know, CERT's such an important project, and you guys are leading the way. So thank you. Any other comments? The mics, I kind of hate to have anyone speak who is not direct. Well, great. In that case, thank you. And we'll now move on to item 7. Okay, this is item 7A is the presentation on updates to the Santa Clara County Weed Abatement Program and review of the annual program cycle. Project Operations Manager Russell and Technical Analyst Project Manager Cronin, who, well, he's on Zoom, so I'm not sure if he participated or not, but will be providing us a quick report.
Can you hear me? Great. Good evening, commissioners, staff, and public. Tonight, we wanted to introduce the topic at hand, which is weed abatement and accepting properties that have incurred fees that are in the weed abatement program. I also wanted to update you on some wonderful changes that have been made to the weed abatement program. Since this year, Garrick Iloslavsky has taken over. And we also wanted to review where we are in the cycle, because the cycle can be very confusing at times. So we'll look back at that graphic and look at the annual cycle and review where we are. If I could go to the next slide. Great, thank you. So as you can see with all the arrows, we are in July here. And so once a year, liens for costs that are incurred, whether that be if you're in the program at minimum, there is a administrative fee. And if you're not compliant, then there is a larger fee to mitigate the property. So that's what that list before you, you'll see different numbers. That's what that list indicates. So Garrick will present a list to you, and anyone has the right from the public to attend this meeting and contest those fees. Which brings me to something that I've been really pleased to learn from Garrick this year and our whole staff. We've had some really wonderful collaborative meetings with him. If we go to the next slide, Corey. One of the things that Garrick has improved with the program is instead of sending out his contractors right away to anyone on that list, he actually goes out and physically looks at the property once that deadline comes up, and he makes sure that it's not been mitigated already. And before, what would happen is everyone on that list, those contractors would go out, and then there would be fees incurred. If they got there and found out that there was nothing to mitigate, then they actually charge for that visit, if you will. So he's really done a great job about going out and just making sure and working with the residents. I think we're all very aligned, Santa Clara County Fire Department, weed abatement, and us. We all want the same thing, which is for our residents to comply and understand what is expected of them. So that's the increased collaboration with partner agencies. Garrick has been really great about getting back to us and collaborating with us in any ways, provided us with materials, and you know, everything has been very, very responsive, and which the enhanced outreach materials that happened at the beginning of the year. So they're just, the materials that the residents get is a little clearer about what's expected. So these are all really excellent changes. Super pleased to see that. Next slide, please. So with that, I would like to introduce or have Ryan Cronin. He should be in the audience, hopefully, and he's going to talk about a little bit about codes behind and ordinances behind weed abatement and defensible space, but more importantly, what a abated property does look like and doesn't look like, because that's really important. Sometimes when we've had residents come and say this property wasn't actually abated, some of it was actually a confusion about what that property should actually look like, the perimeter versus the entire property being mowed. So with that, Ryan, hopefully.
Thank you, Paige. Hi. Commissioners, President Spreen, commissioners, staff, public, thank you very much for letting me be here with you. On the previous slide, you saw a tractor pulling a disc and disking a line around a field. And I want you to keep that memory, that image in mind here. And then on this current slide, if we jump ahead now, you'll see a tractor towing a mower, and again, creating this line. So on this topic, there are laws and ordinances that require homeowners to be compliant. So they have to be compliant with laws such as taxes and rubbish abatement and things like that. And some of them are fire hazard concerns, specifically about fire safety. So within fire safety, there's two main programs. There is defensible space, and that is primarily, well, that is around structures, occupied or not, inhabited or not. And they are primarily run by, or the compliance is around the fire severity zone, the fire hazard severity zone that the property falls within. The other program is a weed and hazard abatement. We focus on the weeds, but it does include other things. If there were, let's say, hazmat or maybe other combustible trash and things like that. And compliance there is mainly about parcel size. Okay, so Corey, may I have the next slide, please? Okay, so the Los Altos Hills County Fire District has a number, well, first of all, we are here to help homeowners understand these programs. We're available to answer questions because while it is in code, it is very buried. It can be difficult, and we can help you understand that. So first of all, to reach out. And second, we have a number of programs to help you be compliant with our defensible space brush chipping, our home ignition zone assessments. So looking at defensible space, this is the space around the home. And this year, there are new fire hazard severity zones that came from the state, and Los Altos Hills now has some changes. So if you are in moderate, high, or very high, you have requirements of the space around your home that you need to prepare. Now, it is not completely denuded. Instead, there are recommendations. So for instance, on here, we see that in that first 30 feet, we want our tree canopies spaced out by, it looks like, I think that was 18 feet. And then as we spread out away from the home, they can be a little bit closer. There are requirements for weed heights or brush height, grass heights, how far those tree limbs are limbed up. And we can help with all of those. There are some changes depending upon which fire hazard severity zone you're in, and we can assist in understanding those. Okay, may I have the next slide then? Then we get to the weed abatement. So within that, if you have a parcel, well, first weed, it still includes the 30-foot spacing around all structures. So that would include a barn or even a shed, anything within, anything that has a man-made structure. We need to have a defensible space around those. And then if your parcel is 1 acre or less, then it must be completely mowed or abated of weeds, and grasses must be kept within a height distance or a height maximum. Similarly, trees need to be limbed up to create space between ground fuels and canopy fuels. If your property is larger than 1 acre, it must have a 30-foot fire break around the property, and any property that's over 5 acres must be divided into 5-acre parcels. There may be additional requirements based upon slope and vegetation and things that may be reduced, and you may have to put a fire break so that your property is broken into about, let's say, 2.5-acre parcels. And those will come from the inspectors that assess the property. So helping with those, again, the Los Altos Hills County Fire District has a number of programs to help you understand, help you be compliant, and help you with fuel mitigation. The codes, if you're interested, I'll be happy to come and talk with you about them, but they are in our town code. They are in the state's health and safety code. And the prescriptions are pretty well lined out. All right. With that, I'll turn it back to Paige. And thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. With that, it's my pleasure to bring up to the stand Garrick Ilosavsky. No, I didn't say your name right. There you go.
I'm not entirely clear what a fire break means in case of a private home.
Hi, good evening. My name is Garrick Ioselewski from the County of Santa Clara Weed Abatement Program. So if I understood the question, it's what is a fire break around a home?
I know what a fire break is in large areas. But in case of a private home, what is a fire break, please?
So what we require is that there's 30 feet of clearance around any structure. So there should not be any tall grass or weeds within 30 feet of any home, shed, barn, etc. Trees can be there, but we do require that they are limbed up to at least 6 feet off the ground and that they're not getting too close to a chimney.
I just wanted to know what the fire break is, and that is the definition. Thank you.
All right. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me tonight. Thank you, Paige, for the kind words. As she mentioned, I have implemented some new policies and the way that we do things. Previously, the way that the weed abatement program worked, if a property failed the inspection initially, we would generate a work order for the contractor to go out to the property and do the abatement after 2 weeks. That did also cost the property owners quite a large fee. It's a work order processing fee. So one thing I've done to improve that experience for property owners is I go out now and I do a secondary inspection. If the property passes a secondary inspection, they'll get charged a second inspection fee as opposed to a larger work order processing fee. If they do still have a problem with their weeds or other hazardous vegetation on the property, then we will charge them the work order fee and then send the contractor out there. We do also have a new process for warrants where if a property has a structure on it, we are required to get the property owner's consent before we can send a contractor out to do the abatement work. Absent of any consent from the property owner, we then have to go and obtain a warrant from a judge to go and do the abatement. This has unfortunately increased the length of time that it takes from when we do the initial inspection until the abatement is actually completed. But we are working through that process as it is a pretty new one for our department. So that's just kind of a brief overview of some of the changes that I've made since becoming the manager for this program in December. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have.
First of all, I just want to say that, oh, boy, this thing's loud. In the 9 years I've been involved with this last year has been such improvement in the way this program and how we, from the county side and from the collaboration with us and the residents, to turn this into a real constructive program and not an antagonistic one. So I thank you for everything you've done to make this really a program that fits right into best practices and an understandable program for residents. And so it's been an amazing year for this project.
Thank you.
Any comments from, if you can use the wireless there.
Mina?
Yep. Hold it a little closer to your mouth.
Yeah. Thank you for doing what you do. And the weed abatement that you have, do you only use the disking system or do you have anything like natural things like vinegar and other substances that can be added in addition to after the disking? You know, do you have a recommendation for homeowners to do that?
So we do not, our contractors do not do any kind of chemical applications at all. It's all either handwork, meaning using hand trimmers and brush cutters, things like that, or sometimes they do disking or mowing. It just depends on the property itself, the size, the limitations that they may have, whether they're able to get a tractor onto the property, if the property's too small, if it's under an acre, they'll typically just send out a hand crew to do that. But we do not offer any recommendations in terms of applying any types of vinegar or any other types of herbicides or anything like that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know, because of this new fire hazard map coming from the fire marshal, the number of properties that you're going to visit, is that going to change next year?
So based on the new fire hazard map, it's not necessarily going to change the number of parcels that we visit, but it will change how we prioritize the inspections that we do. We actually have been fortunate enough in our department that we have had a graduate student fellow with us the last couple of months who is a data analyst expert, and she has actually put together a great map overlaying all of our parcels that we inspect over that fire hazard map. And so starting next season, we'll have that as a great tool for us to be able to really prioritize going after those high fire hazard zones before going to the other areas.
Thank you. That's fantastic. I lend my voice to what President Spreen said. You guys have done a magnificent job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments here? Nope. Any public comments for our speaker? Seeing none. Great. In that case, thank you. And we will move on to item 7B, which is a public hearing to consider the proposed special assessment cost associated with the abatement of hazardous weed, brush, and or rubbish growing on certain described properties within the district, declared to be a public nuisance at the commission meetings held on June 18th, 2024, and on January 21st, 2025. The list of properties and the proposed special assessments are included in the agenda packet as Exhibit A to Resolution 2510. Do we need another? I don't know if we need we don't need more overview. I think we understand. We're good. All right. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing. The time is 7:40 p.m. Please note, if any members of the public would like to contest the inclusion of their name or parcel number in Exhibit A of Resolution number 25-10 of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District Board of Commissioners to adopt the weed abatement report and order the cost of abatement to be a special assessment on their property tax roll, now is the time to do so. Any and all persons interested having any objections to said list or to any matter contained therein may appear and be heard. Are there any comments from the public?
I see none on that.
Okay. And probably that's to be expected because people have already been on the list to get to this point. So this shouldn't be a surprise. In that case, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. It's now closed. The time is 7:40 p.m. Item 7C is Resolution 25-10, adopting the weed abatement report and ordering the cost of abatement to be a special assessment on the identified properties. Mr. Ialewski, are there any changes that need to be made to Exhibit A before we proceed?
No, no changes need to be made at this time.
Great. Thank you. Any clarifying questions? Seeing none from the commission. In that case, I will entertain a motion.
Tyson moves approval of the resolution noted in 7C.
Thank you.
Tonka seconds.
Excellent. No public comments I see and no discussion here on that. So let's take a roll call.
President Spreen.
Yes.
Commissioner Rasici.
Yes.
Commissioner Kadambi.
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson. And the motion passes 5-0, 2 absent.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8. Now, the fire chief reports, is she available?
She is online, yes.
Okay. Great. I'll introduce it. Item 8A is the monthly report for June 2025, and item 8B is the June report for Station 8. Fire Chief Kirkhoff, if you could please provide those reports.
Good evening, Commissioner, President Spreen, staff, and the public. Again, I just want to highlight, just before we get into the report, that the information that was provided prior and the work that the Los Altos Hills County Fire District staff is doing really continue to help mitigate and educate folks about wildfire risk. And you'll see in the report here that from the operational side of the house, we definitely are seeing an uptick in vegetation fires. So as we go through the report, there were 3 incidents that operations considered to be of significance. And of significance was either time on task, potentially the threat or dollar loss. The first one having a total acreage of 2.84 acres. And again, what we really strive to do is contain fires, vegetation fires to under 5 acres, and definitely 1 acre is really what we're aiming for. So in some of them, it's just a matter of topography and the weather conditions. And in this one, we were able to contain it to 2.84 acres. The next one was an outside fire, which they were dispatched to a detached garage visible from the residence security cameras. And again, when we got there, the fire was quickly extinguished, and the site turned over to, I believe, the homeowner. And then the third vegetation fire was a 2-alarm brush fire. This was the largest one. That included multiple homes threatened. And what I will say about this one in particular is as soon as we get the notification that there is a higher potential or a potential in terms of a home or structure being threatened, this is where we communicate very quickly with the general manager as well as the town manager. And so trying to update them as we get information. And I know in particular, this one, I was texting with Jay Logan immediately and giving her updates as quickly as I could with regard to what we had. And in fact, we had a wildfire camera that I was able to grab a screenshot and show it to her of what we were seeing. We typically, again, let the ICs and the crews work rather than asking for updates immediately, because the updates are really given to us via the radio traffic, which we have direct access to. So again, fortunately, again, the partnership with the hand crew, our hand crew that went out there, Copter 605, that's from Alma, again, that mutual threat zone in which we have a vested interest with our CAL FIRE partners to keep fires small, to keep it from going into the vegetation on the state responsibility area and within our local responsibility area to, again, make sure that we're moving people if we need to. But in this case, we were able to keep it and contain it to 1.6 acres with limited, I think it was limited to a remote control brush cutter. In all of these incidents, I just want to stress that there was no, I don't want to say suspect source cause, although one of them is still under investigation. It's just because it takes some time to complete the fire investigation report thoroughly. None of them was suspect in terms of foul play. So that is the report for the significant incidents that occurred in Los Altos Hills for the month of June. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And there we go. And so again, we see a total of 85 incidents spread out, of which 6 were fire or structure. I only talked about 3 in the previous, in the first slide, with the other 3 classified fire incidents really being smoke checks, one in the same, which is we got dispatched to an incident that turned out to be the other incident. And this is where move ups into the district operationally that come in to backstaff and to ensure that there's kind of a secondary wave of available response is there. That's what they did with, I think, the third one being a smoke scare, which ended up not being anything. So, we do the thorough investigation. We have here still on par with 2024 in terms of the number of incidents year to date, where we're at 517 for the year. And ultimately, we have been very, I don't want to say typically busy, but yes, it's fire season and people going out and trying to do mitigation efforts sometimes ends up being a challenge when they're choosing the wrong time of the day to do that type of mitigation effort. But in the meantime, the response was able to keep those incidents small. And again, the communication with General Manager Logan is certainly very robust, and I really appreciate her responsiveness as I reached out to her for these incidents. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And I know there has been some feedback, and again, with a lot of the preparation and the continued work operationally for the organization, we will continue to work through our accreditation or reaccreditation process when it comes to data, and continue to explore opportunities to constantly, work through comments that we get to try to improve our report. But this is where we're at in terms of really the takeaway here is, you're in the district itself, the Hills. Rescue 74 has the lion's share of the calls, Engine 76 second, with Engine 75 more or less about a fourth of the calls that Rescue 74 responds to. There's Engine 374 that's separate, and that's just because occasionally it'll either be used instead of Rescue 74 to respond to the call, or we may be upstaffed that day. And then Engine 71 typically is our move up engine from Cupertino that backfills the district when needed. We had some 2 programs for community education, and it looks like here we have 26 staff hours that were part of that educational component for, excuse me, for the district. I apologize, I'm a little bit under the weather today. So that, I believe, concludes the June 2025 report, Corey. And I'll pause there. Oh, except for the map, I'll pause there to take any questions from the commissioners before we move on to the Palo Alto Station 8 report.
Yes, great. Thanks. This is Commissioner Tyson. You mentioned about the fact of certain activities that are make fire higher risk, and I saw about the town of or city of Hidden Hills in Southern California passed an ordinance that sounded quite strict, and in effect it outlawed certain behaviors during red flag days or high fire danger. Some of the activities included things like outdoor barbecues, but also running equipment where sparks could be done. And I just wonder, you mentioned that we don't always know what causes these fires. Of the 3 that we saw, I do believe the first one from last month was from equipment that was during that sparked the fire. But I'm just wondering, maybe get your opinion. Is this the right way to go? Is it better through education, or is it through an ordinance that can be draconian, but it gets people's attention? I wonder if you have an opinion on that.
I do have an opinion, and that is those who are engaged and educated will follow the ordinance, even if it is pretty strict. And those who don't necessarily know, don't take, I don't want to say the initiative, but for whatever reason, just are not aware, will say, hey, this needs to be mowed. Let me go ahead and mow or hire contractors to come out and do this mitigation yard reduction, waste reduction work at 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon. And every person who's a firefighter knows that's your burn window, right? It's not in the morning. It's really at about between 1 and 4 p.m. That tends to be the time that the fuels are susceptible in the summertime. Again, more or less, again, it just depends on the relative humidity recovery at night. And we've been getting a significant amount of humidity recovery from the onshore or the influence from the coastal influence. But I feel like, it's really up to the authority of how much they want to enforce that. I do think that your Hill staff is doing a tremendous job educating and outreaching to your residents. And I think I'll just leave it at that.
Great, thank you. Oh, go ahead. We have one more comment down here.
So I just noticed the trend in the previous slide. So there's been an uptick, constant uptick in, I think, 2021, it was 408 incidents. And this year, I don't know if it's for the whole 2024 to 25, or is it just 2025? So we have 517. So I see about 109 increase, the difference. So I'm just wondering if there's any trend in this uptick, have we seen anything? Has any analysis been done why it's significant? Not significantly, but noticeably it's going up.
It is a great observation. It's a great
Thank
question.
you.
And where we're at is pre-pandemic levels. So what we don't have on this graph is 2019. 2020, the call volume throughout all fire jurisdictions, as far as I have been able to ascertain from talking to multiple chief level officers in various agencies, is there is a huge downward dip, about 30% in call volume. And that's just because people were at home. They weren't on the road. They weren't going about their normal business. Everybody was home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Slowly over time, call volume has increased. And in 2024, as an example, I think the traffic, as well as just people getting back to day-to-day business, people going back to work, because remember, we had a lot of remote work that was happening, was basically ceased with a lot of companies that are in Silicon Valley. So we, to be very frank, are at pre-pandemic levels. So the trend itself, I will say from my perspective, I'm not worried about, but we do want to watch it. And that's why we do a 5-year look back, so that if we are watching, as we move down into October or November, that's where we pay attention to if we're seeing an uptick that would be concerning for us. But the difference between 519 and 517 really is where we were typically at in 2019 for the Los Altos Hills County Fire District.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any public comments? Seeing none. Great. We can move on to 8B, Station 8.
Corey, do you have that slide? Great, thank you. While Corey brings that up, again, the ability for that unit to respond quickly along that Page Mill corridor, you can see that they did respond to 2 vegetation fires. So those were the 2 that were closest to Page Mill. They were put to work very quickly. And again, in June, we worked with Palo Alto to swap months. So from June 15th to June 30th, where Palo Alto would typically staff Station 8, County Fire staffed Station 8. So those were county fire crews that responded to the 2 EMS calls that you see, the vegetation fires, and the rest of the incidents that you're seeing on your report. So 9 total incidents, 15 days, which averages, 1 every other day. But we're at a place where we believe that, again, for those vegetation fires, it was very, very useful, if not incredibly beneficial for the district to have the unit in place there. And that's the end of that report. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I think we're all happy to have that staff given the last month of activity. Jim has a comment.
Just a note of appreciation. I'm a resident of Page Mill Road. I can't tell you how grateful I am that this station exists. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item 8, item 9 is the HIZ assessment and rebate program update. Now, you notice, by the way, that we will be having program updates for everything for the 6 month next month. One of the reasons to have this here talk about tonight, just this is so central to all the discussions that have been happening at the town level, and this is such a main indicator of how we're getting residents involved. I thought it would be helpful to make sure that we're hearing what's happening, especially in light of the recent fires and everything else. So that's why we have an update here from Project Operations Manager Russell.
Excellent. Thank you. Good evening again, Commissioner, staff, and public. So this evening, Corey, if we could go to the next slide, I wanted to give you a little preview of where we are year to date so far. You don't have to really get too honed in on all the verbiage. What this says essentially is our outreach efforts have had a real impact on the requests for HIZs, which is very exciting. And there's been a lot of demand. So as you can see from the graphs over here, we've got HIZ requests and completions. I separated it out by just June. I don't know if you remember, but back in May, I was very excited to report that we'd finally gotten our list down to 0. We'd gotten everyone scheduled. It was very exciting. And then some articles came out and we got a big uptick in interest, which is great. We love that. It's a good problem to have. So 56 requests, and we conducted 32 of those assessments in June. And keep in mind, meanwhile in June, we've got evacuation projects going. We have our brush chipping. So a lot of our assessors are doing double or triple duty with these things. So year to date, or year to June, 280 requests and 191 have been conducted. So it doesn't mean that 90 people have not been reached out. It's just that's been conducted. There are a lot of people that have been scheduled within that too. And then just in terms of breaking it out by Los Altos Hills County Fire District and our partners, the Fire Safe Council, in June, the district conducted 29, Fire Safe Council did 2, and then year to date, we've done 144. And the Fire Safe Council has done 47. We appreciate everything we can get, which is great. But again, we are realizing this is all to illustrate that we're not keeping up with the demand. And my goal is to reach people quicker. When people want to have that HIZ, I really want to get that to them quickly. We all want that. So before I go to the next slide, I just want to share a story. One of the things that I absolutely love about this program, I was doing an HIZ recently for a resident that had some mobility issues. She said, do you mind if my neighbor comes over and he's going to actually walk around with you? Absolutely. So he came over, and he is a FireWise community leader, and he walked the property with us. And at one point he said, I have to tell you, he said, one of the things I love, he said, when I first started this, he said, I thought you had to scare people into action. He's like, but I see from how you all deliver this information that it really helps to know what we're doing right, and to, get it sandwiched with the positive things too. And then I said, hey, how's your work going? And he's like, oh, I was hoping you'd ask. So he pulls out this piece of paper and he shows me the work he'd done. And we had this big discussion about, he had a lot of vegetation, very tightly, densely packed. And that's always sometimes a tricky one. I'll just say, additional spacing required here. And I told him, I go, just do it a little bit at a time. Just kind of slowly take it away until you have a little more space. So he showed me this picture, and I'm going to share with you what that picture looked like, because I think he pulled it out also for the resident when we went inside, and she said, wow, that looks better. So I'm hoping you'll think the same. We can go to the next slide. So that is the before and after, right? Amazing. And he said, park like landscaping. He's like, right, Paige? Park like landscaping. Exactly. And that's what that looks like. And sometimes it's hard to envision. But what I love about this is it really illustrates a number of things. The power of the FireWise community effort, that community, like he said, we were talking about things that you would do if you had to evacuate. And this person said, I'll come over and help you with that. So it was just this really wonderful conversion of so many great things that this program is doing. So with those initial numbers that I showed you, the 191 assessments conducted so far this year, we just know what's coming. There's going to be a landfall or a landslide of rebate requests. So we created a next steps document that walks residents through that process of uploading photos, whether they're applying for the rebate or not. Also a sample invoice so that they can provide that for their landscaper, so that that's smooth, so they don't have to go back and forth and ask for changes with that. So that's been a real great improvement. We hit $100,000 in rebates so far, so that's exciting. I expect that's going to go up quite a bit. So with that, we talked about keeping up with the demand. I think the most exciting thing that I'm going to discuss tonight, if we can go to the next slide, is the introduction of our new Community Risk Reduction Specialist 2, and it is retired Santa Clara County Fire Department Battalion Chief Debbie Stockstick. She's been shadowing with me. She's excellent with the residents. She's already a pro. I'm so excited to have her on board. And with that, I would love for you to come up, if you don't mind, and say a few words.
Great. Well, first I want to say it's very impressive what you as Los Altos Hills provide to your residences. I've never seen anything like it. And every single person, I've only been on 7 of them, was so excited that we were there and thanked us for us telling them all the work that they're going to have to do. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, I was in the fire service for 30 years and retired out 5 years ago. Just wasn't done to, wasn't ready to be completed with the fire service. So to get to go back and make people safe and make them happy and is wonderful to be here. So I thank you all for this opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions about the HIZ program and where we are so far? No.
I don't have a question, but I have another testimonial. So I'm minding my own business, running down Moody Road, and I see a crew working up cutting logs from high up, and I see a homeowner. And so I turn around and I come back and I talk to her and asked her what she was up to. And she said, well, I'm having them take some of these logs that were over, they're hanging so where they're so overbalanced that they're bound to fall. So I'm making it safer on the road. I'm also getting rid of dead limbs and also where there's too many. And I said, have you heard of our HIZ program? She said, oh yes, I did it. And I said, have you heard of our rebate? And she says, yeah, but a lot of the little stuff, I take care of it myself. So I don't know which of this they're doing. I said, well, keep track and put it on the list. And I think it was really fun to talk to her and just see how I think this whole thing had sparked. And I'm hoping she's a good role model for her neighbors, and I bet she is.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
No, it was exciting to see. I mean, it started from 0, and this really is a central program to getting residents of Los Altos Hills making things safer. There's nothing more important than this program. So we appreciate it. And thank you for joining on this. We're as excited about this as you are. And it really is something.
Thank you for supporting us. Really appreciate it.
Excellent. All right. Let's see here. Moving on to any public comments? Great. Moving on to item 10, which is to receive a presentation on the N5 Shield Wildfire Early Warning Detection System. General Manager Logan, please introduce this item.
Thank you, President Spreen, Commission, staff, and public. I'm going to give an overview of the last couple of months because this item's been on the agenda, and I just want to summarize for all the persons who are here and those who are online listening to it, and then come up with a plan for the N5 wildfire detection sensors. And we've heard of all these wonderful programs, and this is going to be another tool in our toolkit that I think is really going to help for the prevention, protection, and building resiliency within Los Altos Hills County Fire District. So the April Commission meeting introduced the N5 network with wildfire early detection sensors and included a map of the sensor locations adjacent to Los Altos Hills County Fire District, and it provided information on evaluating the deployment of the N5 AI sensors as a pilot program in a collaboration with Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council, Santa Clara County Fire Department, and the County of Santa Clara and other regional agencies. In May, the Commission meeting reported that the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors received a legislative report and presentations and approved the procurement of 50 N5 sensors for county WUI territories. LAHCFD General Manager attended as part of the county presentation to the Board of Supervisors. I was very privileged to do that. The June Commission meeting presented a staff memo report that defined the purpose of the pilot project, the cost estimates, and a PowerPoint that responded to questions raised at the May meeting, and reported that funding for the N5 procurement was approved as rollover funds back to the district by the County Board of Supervisors. A second staff memo report is in the July agenda packet and addresses the development of the pilot program status update. To summarize, wildfire risk reduction is complex, and preventing, detecting, and responding to threats of wildfire requires a multi-factor approach based on the principles of fire science. The district has implemented a multi-phased approach to reduce the risk of wildfires on private properties within its jurisdiction through various integrated hazardous fuel reduction, which is called IHFR programs, such as the monthly defensible space brush clearing and debris removal, and defensible space fuel reduction monthly drop-off, and its community education and risk reduction, which is called CERR programs, such as the Home Ignition Zone, HIZ, assessment and rebate, weed abatement, annual goat grazing, and district-wide efforts supporting and organizing of Firewise USA neighborhoods throughout the jurisdiction. In addition to programs that focus on residential wildfire risk reduction, the district conducts extensive vegetation mitigation work in public spaces in the community throughout the IHFR program that includes evacuation route and road hardening projects, the I-280 hazardous fuel reduction project, and developing community strategic fuel breaks with neighboring partners. Now, with all of this, the N5 wildfire early detection detector sensors capabilities would be an additional and important technology component to the suite of the IHFR and CERR programs aimed at prevention, protection, and to reduce wildfire in the wildland-urban interface jurisdiction of LAHCFD. The N5 Shield detection system presents a unique solution via developing and connecting technologies for networking with detection sensors with surrounding N5 projects in Woodside, City of Palo Alto, Stanford Open Space, and the emerging N5 projects in Santa Clara County parks and WUI areas, and anticipated in Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District. The District N5 pilot program would enable the Commission to evaluate the cost-benefit analysis for the development and implementation of the program. Further discussion would determine what are the expectations of the program, the cost-benefit analysis criteria, the evaluation criteria for the program to include the measurements and metrics, how to develop a plan for ongoing programs, and whether the N5 policy has been established. The pilot program operational plan is presented in a memo report along with the next steps to collaborating with County Council to determine the procurement sourcing method, developing a proposal for the scope of services, returning to the Commission for consideration of approval of the agreement, procurement services, and compensation, along with other steps after the procurement process. I would now like to move to the presentations for tonight. The presenters and FireSafe Council are here tonight to provide information about N5 technology, management of the project, and answer questions, and to explain what FireSafe Council and N5's role will be or could be is conditioned on LAHCFD's entering into an agreement with N5 and FireSafe Council, who serve, and FireSafe Council, who serves as the N5 exclusive value-added reseller for the N5 Shield product. With that, I would like to now introduce the N5 presenters and Seth Shallett, CEO of Santa Clara County FireSafe Council. And so our first presenter is going to be Applications Test Engineer Slavich, and Chief Revenue Officer Deininger will present on the technology, products, and answer general questions. 2 PowerPoints are included in the agenda packet on specific N5 incidences. So Mr. Slavich, if you would provide your presentation, ask for Q&A, and then introduce the presenter, CRO Deininger, for her presentation and questions and answers. With that,
General Manager, before you start, I do understand that members of our technology committee in town were interested in this. And I don't know, if Corey, if you can tell me, are any technology, is there anybody watching on Zoom that might be a member of that? I just want to see if they were able to be part of this. Oh, okay.
If I may answer Commissioner Tyson's question, I will be presenting along with N5 to the Technology Committee this coming Thursday night.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You're going to do a separate presentation. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They have a scheduled Technology Committee meeting, and we're going to be their chief presenter at that meeting.
Appreciate that.
We do have EPRC, Dave Stewart is online.
All right, thank you, board. Thank you, staff.
Before we get started, I have an actual N5 sensor here. Hope you can note, I'm gonna pass it around, starting with staff, and hopefully it can make its way around, and then we'll share it with the attendees here in the audience too.
Yes, thank you, Seth. I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Test?
Yeah.
Just bring it up a little. Thank you. All right. Thank you all again. As you said, my name is Daniel Slovich. I'm with N5 Sensors. I'm our application engineer. With N5 Sensors, we all wear lots of different hats. Debbie, who we mentioned earlier, is our CRO. I'm going to dive into some of the technology. My goal here is to answer some questions, kind of show you some deployments and successes that we've had in the past. But I'd like to, if we still have her on the call in Zoom, Debbie, if you're available, I'm going to have her do a little bit of a brief introduction, a little bit of a history, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into it. So Debbie, are you still on the line?
I am on the line. Thank you, Dan. And hello, Commissioner, staff, and public. Thank you for allowing Dan and myself to join this meeting. It's a real honor to both listen to everything that you're doing to help protect your community from wildfire, but also have a chance to talk to you about our product, which is N5 Shield for wildfire threat reduction detection. So I'll do the first couple slides, an introduction of the company and our history. And since Dan is there in the room with you, he'll do the bulk of the presentation about the product and the technology. So if we could move to the next slide, please. So our layout for today, okay, that was the agenda. So about N5, the product, the deployments, and then some learnings and enhancements that are coming. So moving to the next slide now, thank you. So at N5 Sensors, our mission, and it's one that we take incredibly seriously, is that we use sensors, data, and artificial intelligence to keep our people, communities, and infrastructure safe. And I can say that I'm actually joining you from Colorado. Colorado is Dan's home state as well now. So our own communities are also at risk of wildfire, and this is a product that we're proud to represent, that it's important to us. So early detection of wildfires, we detect smoke and air quality. We're developing some solutions around chemical threats and spills as well on the same hardware. Our goal is to provide environmental intelligence, 24/7 alerting capabilities so that we can positively affect outcomes from wildfire ignitions. Next slide, please. So I know that N5 Sensors is not a household name, but we've actually been around for quite a while. In 2012, we were spun out from the University of Maryland. Our founder and CEO, Abhishek Matayed, was a professor at the University of Maryland. He also worked at the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, where he invented the core and underlying sensor technology. Over many years, that was reduced to practice and commercialization, including a number of defense contracts aimed at detection of chemical hazards. And in 2019, we were invited to participate in a program that was stood up by DHS Science and Technology Directorate for Wildfire. This was in partnership with FEMA and the U.S. Fire Administration. They were looking for tools that could be used to better detect wildfires, in addition to the cameras and the satellites and the other solutions that are out there. And that particular program came looking for companies with the ability to do ground-based detection via smoke and chemicals for identification of wildfires. So to put it in layman's terms, where cameras might work from sight, our solution works from the sense of smell. So having joined that program in 2020, there was a lab test report conducted by Jensen Hughes. That report is publicly available. There's a link here, and if anybody needs access to it, just ask me. In 2021, we went into our field trials with S&T and some partnering communities. In 2022, we had the honor of detecting our first unplanned wildfire. So we've done a lot of testing on prescribed fire, but our first unplanned wildfire, which was here in Colorado, That's also when we began selling the commercial product and when we got to know Seth Shallett and the Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council. We were honored in 2023 when they became a value-added reseller for N5. And in the past 2 years, we've deployed hundreds of sensors with S&T as well as privately. We greatly appreciate the partnership of Stanford, Palo Alto, and Woodside to join the 2024 program, where we did have a sole source contract specifically to test the deployment, to test the density, and really take some great data on this sensor. So that's a little bit about the company. That's a little bit about our history. If there's any questions about that, please ask. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Dan, who will walk you through the product and technology.
Thank you, Debbie. I know it's a little late for you over there, so thank you. I appreciate you hopping on and joining in and going through this with us. So if you go to the next couple slides here. So like Debbie said, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the technology a little bit and talk about the core, the backbone of our detection network, which is the chem node, which some of you have already seen. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So these next couple slides give us a high level of how our system operates in the field, from the sensor to the actual alerting portion. The core of our tech is the chem node. It's designed for harsh real-world deployments. It's an IP-rated device for weather resistance. It's built to handle heat, cold, and designed to run reliably in remote conditions around the world. Each sensor itself runs on low power. It can be a solar or a battery-backed device. So there's no need for any trenching power, running additional cables, any hardwired connections, things of that nature. Communication happens on the device over LTE, LoRa, and satellite. And there's no need for any Wi-Fi or any local networks. This means we can deploy these sensors anywhere with coverage and be live within minutes of installs. And we'll get into the sensor technology a bit more and what it can accomplish for you in the field. From there, all the sensor data from the device itself is sent securely to our cloud system. And that's where our detection, our alerting starts and works. Alerts are generated real time based on real-time environmental signals. And on the output side, we send those alerts however you would like, however you see fit. They could be text messages, email, API hooks to dispatch systems, or updates to your custom dashboard, or whatever software that you use for emergency management. The whole platform is built to be flexible, fast to deploy, and easy to integrate with any of your existing infrastructure or alerting workflows, making sure that you get something that's valuable right away and gives you actionable insights. So actionable intelligence, you can go to the next slide. So it's not just looking for smoke, it's trained to recognize environmental signatures, specifically of fire or a chemical release. You can think of it like a dog's nose. We're pulling in a combination of particulate levels, heat from our IR sensor, gases released during combustion, and other environmental signals. That mix gives us a good fingerprint, like I said, tells us when something's happening that might not be visible yet, but is likely to escalate. It's not just about that detection, it's about understanding the local patterns intimately and recognizing when something is off from that expected norm. And because all our alerting logic happens in the cloud, we have this ability to constantly and dynamically update and adjust thresholds for detection. Our models are based on real-world data, local fires, local terrain, seasonal risk, and specific customer needs, depending on your unique geography. So we're not stuck with this static solution where we just drop something in the field and hope for the best. Wildfire, as you all know, is a very complex problem, and no single rule set is going to fix it. It's not going to work everywhere. So our system is designed to build and to keep learning on a foundation. It monitors, it adapts, and improves based on where it's deployed and as it gathers data over time. That adaptability carries through to the alerting as well. Like we said, text, email, API integration. We can dispatch to any of your internal comms if you have existing systems to make sure those alerts are disseminated to the correct groups. So you can go to the next slide here. So we don't need to go too into the weeds into the hardware, but of course, I'm happy to answer any questions that come up and we can discuss further. But I did want to give a little bit of an info screen for the device itself, which you already saw. So again, this is our flagship unit. It's a result of everything we've learned and detected with fire, with environment, and threats in real world. Device you see here combines multiple sensing elements in a single compact package. It includes an IR array for thermal detection, a high sensitivity particulate monitor, and our patented multi-gas array. It samples ambient air for combustion particulates, VOCs, things like that, and other byproducts that are present within fire. There's on this image as well, you'll see a e-paper screen that's on the front of the device. It's a low power screen that works in all weather. It enables local diagnostics while we keep everything remotely monitored from the cloud online. So it's designed, like we said, for durability and autonomy. The enclosure is a fully weather rated. It has the internal battery with the optional solar power. Mounting options are all adaptable. Utility poles, rooftops, temporary tripods. Those are lots of different people, lots of different established entities that we've done deployments with, and they have lots of different ways that they'd like to mount them, and we've come up with lots of different solutions for that. One of the biggest design goals here was to make a self-contained unit. We wanted something that was resilient and easy to deploy anywhere that there's risk. So this sensor is what we have running right now across communities in the US, Colorado, Hawaii, California, and a lot of terrain is very similar to Los Altos Hills. Like we had mentioned, Stanford, Palo Alto, and Woodside. We have some good networks in that area as well.
Can I interrupt during this to ask some questions?
Of course, yeah, I would like that.
Tell me about the heat sensor, which has a viewing angle and a certain distance. Is that to give second level type of alerts when there really is an active fire right in front of the sensor? Because I assume the range that you're looking for smelling things is a lot farther than what a heat sensor would pick up.
Yeah. So if you'd like, we can touch on the specific modalities for sensing. So
if I'm getting ahead of you, feel free to say I'll answer it later.
No, of course. Yeah. We'll touch on it a little bit more, but you're bringing up a great point. The IR sensor, it is a thermal array and it's going to look for hot spots. It's a black body radiation problem. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. Distance, size, the gradient. So like the background temperature. Lighting a match in a hot room 100 feet away, you probably won't see that. But if it was, an inch away in a cold room, you probably would. So it's a very challenging problem. And there is really no one answer to say, yes, you can detect this size fire at this far away. It really is hyper dependent on the conditions in the area. But like you said, it allows for that confidence factor. Another orthogonal sensing source gives us another channel, another way to verify any events that we're seeing. The smoke, particulate gases, environmental, that's all omnidirectional. It's looking 360 degrees, but that IR could be targeted at something. Say you have a solar farm that has inverters that are prone to ignite, or cabling that can ignite, things like that. Having it targeted at a specific risk gives you an additional layer of confidence for detection.
And this is maybe a basic science question, but aren't the particulates, I assume, travel completely with the wind? So if there's dead wind, I mean, what kind of radius can you expect to smell something?
Yeah.
If there's no more, or if it's moving in direction? I mean, it seems like you'd have to have sensors to capture.
Yeah, that's a great point. In our next slide, actually,
Okay.
I'll have you present it if you want to go. So I was going to touch on wind. So this is one of our newest additions to this ChemNode system. So we created the ChemNode and then adapted the wind sensor and integrated that. It's not a separate device, though. It's built into the assembly as part of the ChemNode. No extra mounting, no extra power or cabling. But this gives us that hyperlocal wind speed and direction right at the source. So when we get a detection, or even if we don't get a detection, we have that data. It matters because wind is often the biggest driver of fire behavior. Rapid wind shifts can be early indicators of changing fire conditions, changing fire locations, evolution of that fire. These are live in the field, fully deployed, fully operational, and it gives us a really important layer of environmental awareness because it is really susceptible to changes in wind. Anything that's going to be coming over from weather stations always averaged over a period of time, maybe an hour, maybe a day, 12 hours, what have you. And you're not getting those immediate wind shifts. Quick spikes aren't going to be picked up in that. And it makes things difficult when you need something local, you need something hyper accurate. And that's why we established the wind sensor here for us to be able to look at changing wind conditions, how they evolve. And that helps us determine, if we see some ignition at the end of your deployment zone and we know wind is flowing away, or we know wind is flowing in, that is going to inform how that alert goes out, whether it does go out, whether it's a false positive, things like that. So it gets fed into the detection algorithms, and we use that information to add to the confidence. It's another layer, just like the IR channel, particulates, gas. It's another confidence layer to aid in the detection process.
If you give me an example, on
sorry.
a basic, oh, go ahead.
Debbie, did you want to chime in? Go ahead.
I did. I just wanted to add in response to that question. So the sensors do work as a network. We're never deploying just one sensor out there. So regardless of wind direction, the idea is that for the area that we've chosen to protect with N5 Shield, we have sensors in all directions so that whether the wind is blowing east to west or west to east, there will be a sensor there able to pick up the smoke byproducts.
No, of course.
I just was wondering, do these wind detectors part of each one of the installations, or are they spread?
They can be spread out, or they can be placed on every sensor. It's based off the purchaser, kind of what your needs are, what you want to buy. We always present recommendations, and we encourage everyone to get a wind sensor for every chem node that gets installed. But there's some things that you can do, especially in the deployment planning process when we're setting up the logistics and figuring out where we're going to be placing sensors. We would decide specific locations to place those wind sensors, some key spots to be able to get good information. But of course, we always recommend having a wind sensor on every chem node that's installed.
And if I may, just to add to that, we've installed these now 50, as mentioned previously, in the footprint of Woodside, Palo Alto Fire Department in Stanford, and we've got 20 currently installed.
Let's wait on that because we'll ask that question.
But half of them have wind sensors and half of them don't, for testing different topologies, canyons, and things of that nature.
I'd like to switch gears and out of wind and into chemistry. Okay, so your chemical sensors, will it have detect a different signature of what's burning, say grass versus brush or eucalyptus?
Yeah. So I'll have Debbie. I think she probably wants to comment, but I'm gonna jump in first just to comment here. So our gas sensor array. So I commented we have multiple different modalities of sensors that go into the ChemNode device. Our gas sensor array is kind of like our proprietary bread and butter. It's a 24-channel gas sensor array. We're using different functional materials for each of these different sensors. Gives us different responses based off the different analytes that are in the air. So it's really kind of like an environmental spectrogram almost. We're looking at all these different channels of particulate, of gas, of IR, of temperature, of humidity, pressure. And from that, we get a really dynamic picture of your ambient conditions around that node. So when you're asking, like, can we detect very specific analytes or things like within the atmosphere? Yes, but probably not in the sense that you're imagining. We're developing a holistic picture of this fingerprint, of this signature. So from that holistic picture, we're able to kind of calibrate down to specific analytes or specific events. So we know this is a campfire, or this is an oil fire, or this is PVC burning, things like that. And it helps with classification of different events. Debbie, did you have a comment as well?
Yeah, that was a great answer, Dan. And I just wanted to say that in the long run, those will be features that we add. But right now, the sensor is focused on accuracy of fire detection. And actually, this is coming up on one of the slides on the different alerts that we enable now. But in the longer run, we're taking the training data that will allow us to also identify the types of fire that might be present, whether it's a landfill or a structure fire or grass fire.
Sounds very useful, and I have a question about the range. What does each one cover? Last time I asked this question, but our general manager said she will get an expert here. And
let's take a look at range here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to have you skip ahead to slide number 27, if you don't mind. I don't know if you can do that for me. And then we can circle back and go through some things if we need to. So you mentioned range. You also mentioned wind, and I think thank you so much for bringing those up. Those are two very important things. And it comes down to physics. If wind doesn't want to behave and particulates don't get to that sensor, then the sensor just isn't going to see particulates. It's just physics. So there is a component with wind here that makes this more challenging than it already was, right? So we have times where if wind speeds are good, if a fire size is large, if it's in a clear area, unobstructed terrain, high winds, we could detect something, 8-10 miles away. But the device is designed and calibrated to be able to detect fires and events that are much closer, because we don't want to be throwing out false positives and things like that, or for fire states away and things like that. So when we design a system, we design it in mind to say, okay, everything within 1 mile of the sensor, like how are we making sure that we're covering? We're going to be checking and detecting alerts, within this area. And then we monitor and we see, how do we need to adapt? How do we need to densify? How do we need to add sensors? What neighboring communities can we go to and ask them to get involved to make sure that we're fleshing out, the existing deployments? So when wind doesn't behave, let's say you have an ignition point in a sensor and wind is very high speed blowing it away from that sensor, even if it's 100 feet away, it's not going to detect anything. But if you have a sensor, 2 miles east of that, it could. And that's where that discussion of densification and expansion of the network is so important. And just being aware of how wind impacts detection and it affects detection is so important. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I have a follow-up question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
let's take the example of Rancho San Antonio. We all back up, our town backs up to it. So do multiple towns in the area.
Yeah.
400 acres.
Mm-hmm.
How will that work in the context of your sensors?
Yeah, and that's a good question. The biggest thing that we try to do is we try to provide value that's valuable. We want our emergency responders to have data and things that will help them. If that is finding out about ignition as quickly as you can, if that's, finding, if roadways are like relatively clogged, due to a lot of people driving out it, trying to evacuate. The value add is really where I kind of can turn that question back to you and say, what would you like to have? What would be the best thing for you guys in that situation to say, this is happening. What do I need? Do I want to monitor its position? Do you want to be able to say, okay, here's how it's moving, how it's tracking. We know winds are really high right now because our chemnits have these wind sensors. So we need to be looking to the east because it's probably going to spread over the highway, things of that nature. It really does depend what you guys want. We want to make sure that we tune a solution that's key for Los Altos Hills or for any community that goes with our product.
So if there was a fire in the heart of Rancho San Antonio,
Mm-hmm.
could you detect 400 acres? Could your sensors pick up on it?
Could our sensors detect a 400-acre fire? Yes.
In the heart of, they could.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, certainly. The caveat with that is if by some chance you have a large fire, 400-acre fire, and wind is blowing in one direction, very high speed, and never changes direction, something like that, where it's blowing away from our sensors. That's a condition where that would be an edge case where you could say, okay, this is really rare. We don't expect this to happen. So to answer your question, yes, if we have a large fire that's 400 acres or 10 acres even, if we have a sensor that's within adequate distance, then it will detect and will alert.
Yeah, and let me add here that the task at hand is to define a pilot that we'll carry out. So we'll be working with the Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council, with the fire district to understand what are considered the highest risk areas. And this is based on fuels. This is based on hazard indices. It's also based on where fires are likely to be seen and reported by humans or by cameras, and look for the gaps that this system can be deployed to fill that and add another layer of protection. So if we're talking about particular locations, I think that's great feedback, and we'll certainly take that into the planning. about what the folks here think are the higher risk areas that we should look at protecting. But part of the deployment design, as Dan was articulating, is asking the question, what is the area that we're protecting? What are the risks? And then where does it make sense to place the sensors to have the best chance to detect that risk based on both prevailing and typical winds, as well as the unusual winds that can change during a fire.
But what if you're trying to protect the entire 400 acres?
I'm sorry?
What if you're trying to protect the entire 400 acres? We have no idea what.
A relatively small number in the scope of our sensors. So if that area, that 400 acres, is within the part of Los Altos Hills where we deploy, then yes, that's certainly a size and a parcel that could be easily protected with this technology.
Yeah, some of the slides that we skipped over earlier was sort of the deployment planning process, which goes through the logistics of, how do we start to protect an area? You say, hey, I want to protect this area. We get some maps. We start developing a deployment plan, locating sensors, looking at the average wind, looking at terrain, topology, all those things. We develop that plan, and that's when we kind of come forward and get alignment with you guys and work on that plan to make sure that the areas that you want to cover are covered.
Yeah, I'd like to follow, if you're done, I'm going to follow up on your question, because and maybe the slides cover this, because I had the same question. Like if you plunked a map down, and I can't work with acres, but if we had a circle of 5 miles, say, diameter, do you have a sort of general protocol to start with to say, okay, I want to know if anything's going to happen in that 5 mile circle, put one at each compass point so to capture all the different winds thing? I mean, is there a certain strategy you start with of that ilk?
Yes. Yeah, you're exactly right. So that's really pretty much the first start, is look at the cardinal directions and place sensors based off, what you have in the area. You start by covering all the cardinal directions and then work into densify, looking at terrain, looking at elevation, areas where you have slopes, evacuation routes. You want to make sure that you have sensors along those. High risk areas, you kind of tweak and tune things to make sure that you're covering those. But there is a bit of a cascade, like a funnel that we go through as we're placing sensors. Obviously, if it was, perfect world, flat ground, you could just create a perfect grid of sensors and cover everything. But I think the answer is kind of somewhere in the middle between that fully, the sensor every half mile perfectly, and then, more dispersed network. It's kind of somewhere in between. And that's where the discussion and the planning process helps us kind of arrive at that.
I know Seth wants to answer something. I'd ask you to go to the microphone if you're going to address the question. In some of the testing, the tests you've set up, what general size of area are people looking to do? Is there a standard of saying, hey, we want early detection in an area 100, is it a 100-mile circle? Is it a 1 mile circle?
I mean, we have some clients that are as small as just like 1 or 2 acres, and we have some that are looking at like a couple thousand acres or more. It really varies. We've planned out deployments for large areas, size of half a state, but it really does depend on where you want to put it, what you want to do, and what you want to achieve, what you're trying to protect. Yeah.
Okay. Seth, you've been raising your hand politely.
Yeah, and thank you for the discussion. I just wanted to bring one key point so that it doesn't get lost. N5 and the Fire Safe Council work in concert with the local fire marshal. So each of the 8 deployments that I've done, for example, have been in concert and consultation with the fire marshals. So we will create a map, a KMZ, and a series of files that look at the topography. But then at the ultimate decision maker, we are working in conjunction with the fire marshal. We may make recommendations based on fire history, what we know about fuels and topography and fire behavior, past fires. But ultimately, we look to the fire marshal to be the kind of designating authority to say this is where we want the sensors placed for a variety of different reasons. So I just don't want that to go without saying that we're not going to do this in isolation. The actual recommended placements will be signed off on in conjunction by the fire marshal.
I see Deborah has her hands up.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was just gonna comment because and Eugenia has her hand up as well, but there was a lot of question on density. So I just wanted to throw out some numbers to help us all be more comfortable. So if you're regardless of whether you're used to thinking in miles or acres, 1 square mile is 640 acres. And so I would say that, you know, deploying 1 sensor per 500 acres on a group deployment would be a reasonable density. In high risk areas, we may go down from that. It might be 1 sensor per, 200 acres. It might be 1 per 1,000 acres if we're willing to have a little bit slower response time for the gases to get to the sensor. But the really key point here that I don't want to get lost as we talk about distance, you were asking a lot about distance of fire detection. I wanted to make sure we address that directly. We have detected fires from 1 to 2 and up to 5 miles away when conditions are ideal. But what we will be looking at here is how do we deploy a network so that the sensors act together to protect from fire regardless of which direction the wind might be going. But does that, I feel like that distance and density question came up several times, so I wanted to make sure we, clearly put to bed what the typical standards are as the starting point to be signed off by the fire marshal.
I have another question. So in the areas that your sensors have been deployed in the past, what has your success rate been?
Yeah, so one thing that I have in these slides, if you'd like, we could go back. I have a few slides on some existing deployments. If you'd like, we could roll back the slides to slide number 20. You want to start there if you can get to it? And then Debbie, feel free to interject as well if you have any comments. So past several years, we've been rolling out this product across the US, not just pilots as well. We've been doing full scale deployments with utility partners, OEMs, and other agencies to validate these real world conditions and get feedback. That's the important thing here is we have to have that closed loop. This is a difficult emerging challenge with wildfire. So that closed loop communication is so important. We really value it. For the next slide, if you could, in Colorado, this is one example that we have here. So this is an early photo of some sensor deployments. We initially provided 5 alpha sensors to Gilpin through DHS S&T in 2022. We mounted these on United Power poles. From there, they scaled more. They bought another 30, then another 100, and we're actually in the middle of doing those deployments right now in Colorado. In this detection system that they have in Colorado, we've already had 3 detected fires successfly.
But how many did you miss?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? How many fires have burned, and that's the tough part is, a lot of times there can be ignitions or events that nobody sees, right? Sometimes that happens. So what we want to try and do is make sure that when something is at that point where it is evolving into a major risk, we alert on that, and these, we've been in Colorado since, early days of deployment. We've had a lot of learning and that open feedback has been great. United Power has been a great partner. We're working with them. So this whole thing of like missed or not missed or things like that, like it's never going to be perfect. This is hard. Wildfire is tough. One sensor, one solution isn't always going to be 100% every time. And this is why we value the community involvement so much, because you guys know your community, your area, your fire people are familiar, boots on the ground. And that's why we need that sort of intimate feedback, that closed loop chain of communication to make sure that if we do have missed alerts, if we do have missed events, we learn how we can evolve and how we can improve. The sensors have AI to continue improving themselves. We are working on different tools for deployment improvement. The slide that I just had up before showed some simulation tools. We're working on that to look at actually like wide area simulation tools to look at plume models across an area that will help inform better, sensor locations. The idea is to get to a point where we have enough data and enough information from you guys as well as from our systems to get to a point where we're alerting on the things you want to be alerted to and not alerting to the things you don't want to be alerted to.
So as of now, you have no data in terms of his success rates?
We certainly do.
So
Debbie.
Go
ahead, Debbie.
Comment on that. So we've been measuring our efficacy since 2022. And our false positives are much less than 1%, down around a few tenths of a percent. And our false negatives, and the metric that we like to talk about is efficacy. So that means we report the fire either first or concurrently with another technology. If somebody calls and said there was a fire last week and you missed it, that's obviously a false negative. But if we give an independent and timely alerting to the fire, that is efficacy. And so looking across our deployments throughout North America, we're just slightly above 90% on our efficacy.
Yeah, thank you. I think I was going to continue asking along the line that Kavita asked, but I'll just move on. The question I have is, this might be actually a redundant question. Is a set of sensors that we are going to acquire from you and deploy in our area, is it integrated to the whole peninsula? Fire doesn't recognize regionality. So
Right.
is it included in the rest of the Santa Clara County and notably Mid-Peninsula?
Yeah, and that's the idea. I'll also invite Seth to comment on this as well. But we opened the door with Stanford, with Palo Alto, with Woodside, and we came to Los Altos Hills to kind of be involved in this community project, to make sure we have this collaboration. And as far as branching on beyond that, I, of course, I want the buy-in and the contribution from all our communities. I don't know if Seth has any comment on that.
Yeah, because fire is a regional issue. It has no boundaries. So
Yeah,
we
it
have
has
to
no
have a regional
jurisdiction.
solution. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I thank you. And I know that General Manager Logan has some comments to make. So I'm in discussions with other areas. For example, I've got some demos next week in Cambria. I've had some early discussions with San Mateo and some other counties. But the goal here is to create a network for as much of the area as possible. You have to start somewhere. What we haven't gotten to in the presentation yet, it's in there, is we're also talking about integrating with the Alert Wildfire California cameras. Deb can speak more eloquently about that. We've had ongoing conversations with UC San Diego about creating APIs so that we can perhaps go into areas where Alert California does not have the viewshed capability to have visual capabilities, and we can stick N5 sensors there to pick up smoke. So I can speak more in depth about those, and I'll stay after the presentation tonight. But let me turn it over in the time we have left. And just a quick time check. How are we doing for time?
We're doing okay. I think we're getting good questions asked, but
Let me then turn it over to General Logan. Jay Logan. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I just wanted to put it into perspective as they're talking about the integration of networks with other N5s and the region. Think about the integration with the tools you've already established in this district. And that's why I did the prelude into this conversation, in that there's no silver bullet. There's no one device that's going to get you where you want to be. It's a combination of all these factors. So think about all your IHFR programs, all your evacuation route programs, all of your community outreach and education, which includes Firewise communities. All of those programs are going to benefit from this extra added tool that fills in another gap. So think of the network of that kind of matrix, that mosaic. That's where I think we want to go. Now, I can make a cost-benefit analysis right now. When we do an evacuation route, it's between $80,000 to $100,000. Okay? Look at what these N5 sensors cost. Right there, cost-to-benefit analysis would say, yeah, that's worthy of a financial investment to have that extra tool in this tool bag that we have that we're going to deploy throughout the community. So that's kind of the framework that I look at it in, is how does this fit with our already current existing programs? We categorize them. We have the chart of services. We want to do the prevention and protection before Santa Clara County Fire has to come in. What do we know? We had 2 events in June. We caused those 2 events to burn slow and low. That gave our providers the opportunity to come in and put them out. One was Page Mill Road. The fuel break stopped it, period. End of story. That's hard fact. The other one was on Elena, and we know the HIZ stopped it and caused that home not to burn. So those are the kind of deployments that we're making. Ignitions are going to happen. but they're going to be slow and low if we can deploy all these various programs and projects. And I think the N5 is just one part of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough of my speech making.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Eugenia has a comment.
Hello, thank you. It's been a very exciting conversation. I wanted to interject one point about the planning and, you know, the concerns. They're super important, and it sounds like we're consulting a lot of our subject matter experts. But the point is, we also have done some of this pre-planning in our CWPP Annex 4. We have, you know, environmental experts and risk modeling and some of those other types of maps that show where our hazards, where our biggest risks are. And so, you know, the commission, who you can rest assured that you've already begun this process without maybe realizing it. And if you haven't visited the Annex 4 illustrations and map sets lately, I would encourage, you know, that might be another place to look at and start as you evaluate these processes, because it will inform a lot of the things that we were talking about during that portion of the conversation. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. Well, we're looking into some different things. You know, like we had mentioned before, we have some preliminary maps, but we want to do some more advanced simulation of the area and really, you know, drill down into the specifics of where any sensors will go. Having any additional information, though, whatever you can have, you know, is always welcome.
Yeah, first of all, I'll say that I completely agree that the detection technology is something that we need as a district and our residents want. I think part of these questions, and we'll have more questions than we have time to do tonight. I'm sure the technology committee will dive even more into them, because this is very complicated. I think part of this question asking is to set everyone's expectations that this is not a magic thing, and it needs to be designed carefully.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating stuff. And I think it's absolutely an answer for us. And to some degree, well, let me ask my 3 questions.
Yes, sir.
First of all, this was touched upon that because it's actually a good thing that these are already set up from other towns around us. Is there a data sharing? Is there a contractual part of this that you'll be sharing data from one person's sensors? If we're buying and maintaining these sensors and Woodside is buying those sensors, are you telling each of us as customers, hey, you now have a better deal because, you know, you're going to see the
Understood. Yeah.
wind results from their sensors?
Right. So I'll comment. Yes. So there's this idea of kind of like critical density. So once we sort of flesh out a network and we have enough sensors in an area, we get really good coverage and get, you know, alerts and detection all across the area. So for the example of Stanford, Palo Alto, Woodside, and Los Altos Hills. So right now, some of those, you know, partners do have open communication, voluntary, something that they wanted to establish with routine meetings to kind of communicate those events and things like that. We give, you know, each area, each customer, whoever it is, the ability to kind of have that autonomy to say, hey, I want.
Let me steer your question. I'm just thinking, all this data, you say every 18 seconds, these things are pinging you with updates.
Yes, sir.
So all the analysis and the AI stuff is going on your back-end servers, I assume.
Yes, sir.
And then I guess, granted, each customer probably has, as you say, different setups for how you're going to ping whoever or alert anybody.
Correct.
I just wondered if contractually there's a reason you can't let, you know, the fact that sensor over there that we're not maintaining, does that enter into your AI analysis of our stuff?
Yes. It enters into our AI analysis for alert generation.
Right.
So we aggregate other nearby sensors and we look at other nearby sensor data to generate alerts.
So we will get advantage of there being sensors nearby that we're not paying for, even though.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you get advantage. There will be a meta advantage.
Second thing is clearly there's a tuning time, as you've referred to. You put a bunch of sensors in. There's this stage of let's figure out where to put some, and that may need to be tuned. But then once they're in there, I guess you're looking at what kind of results you're getting to decide, hey, there's a wood stove down the block there that keeps showing up, and you want you're tuning those things. How long do you typically expect that? Is that a 1-year process? Is that a
Oh,
1 month?
no. So I have another slide on it as well. We have 0 to 1 week listed for that
Oh, wow.
kind of post install period. And you can kind of think of this as like a calibration period, if you want to call it that. The device truly does calibrate constantly. You know, gas sensors, they move around a lot. So we're looking at all the data to kind of calibrate every day and make sure that it's healthy and tuned and going to be alerting correctly. So that's what we get for that. That 1 week time is really where kind of Seth and other partners step in and they help out with the administrative piece. They get accounts set up. They make sure people can get logged in. They make sure people are set to receive alerts. So there's kind of like grinding out all like the little pieces that need to make sure the alerts get set.
I wasn't thinking of the alerts yet. That's I'm coming up to that. I was thinking more in terms of you being able to sort of see a flow of things and knowing that, well, gee, there's a lot of smoke that comes from cars over the 280, just the general, what is the standard baseline from things? I wondered if is that a 1 week process or is it a 1 month or a 1 year?
And if I may address that, so we'll start you, well, we'll discuss this with your fire marshal and with Seth, but most likely we'll start you on one of our standard algorithms. And then, yes, we do have the ability. It is a learning system. The algorithms are running in the cloud. So occasionally, I have a particular location in mind in Tennessee that's like right by an amusement park. That one's running a special algorithm because there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on there with smoke and fireworks that they're doing and whatnot. So we do have the ability over time as the sensors are learning their locations to say, well, you know, we've put this one near the guy with the wood stove or whatever, and tailor that down accordingly. But we'll
the reason I asked, I'll cut you off a little just to keep this moving along, is that I'm again just setting expectations. You know, is this we tend to think of it in 1 year increments just for budgeting reasons. I'm just trying to understand at the end of a year, do we have a setup or do we have a going machine? That's kind of my question. I don't think you have to answer that now, but I think it's what everyone's will be wondering is in setting this up, what is our expectation in terms of time? My third question is, and I'm not going to open up a long conversation on this, but the alerting, clearly the question is, how do you integrate it into our fire department? And I imagine you're tied in with a lot of different fire departments and a lot of different installations. Is that a fairly standard way that happens? I mean, what do they get? Because the fire departments, I assume, have to go, oh, you've just told us something. Should we actually send a fire truck, or is this something we got to wait 30 minutes and check on? So how uniform have fire departments accepted this data as an action alert system?
Yeah, I think Seth wants to comment first.
I think I can speak to that question locally. So in the case of Woodside and in the case of Palo Alto, they have slightly different protocols. Now, remember that both in Woodside and Palo Alto, we have not yet connected to the County Office of Emergency Management System. We are going to do that. But because of specific individual criteria, Woodside uses a different dispatch methodology than does Palo Alto. Automatically, the battalion chief on duty in the case of Woodside receives an alert to their cell phone, and they can decide whether that's an email, a text, or a combination of email, and the battalion chief on duty automatically goes and to the sensor that's alerting. It's a little different protocol in Palo Alto. So I think your question is, there is some standard templatization and uniformity, but each individual agency is going to have their own protocols and rationales for tuning that or optimizing it.
Okay. No. Any other questions? I'll stop. Everyone here, and then.
Thank you.
Okay. I think it's on the, oh, okay. So what you're doing is great. And I just wanted to know if there's an inbuilt capacity in your AI feature to kind of take past, incidences and then kind of, use that also in the present and the future. So, is there anything that's inbuilt? And secondly, I'll just finish off so you can also tell me how you've ruggedized this. You mentioned that you have. So it's not just the flames that's going to destroy something. It's also the radiant heat. So how, and there's a lot of plastic in it and things like that. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to know how you ruggedized this. So these are.
I'll comment first on
Thank
the, of course, yeah. I'll comment first on the hardware and the ruggedization, the IP protection. So that was just all done in lab, through process of engineering iteration. So we started out obviously, with some sensor technology, with DHS S&T, back in the day, and then from there we adapted that for wildfire and built out a housing that has the waterproofing that's required. So then from that, we've deployed, of course, early on, there's some learnings that occur and some modifications and things that need to change, in the early, pilot deployments, first MVP products. Our case has gone through iterations, our housing has gone through multiple iterations and changes to the tooling to get rid of issues. So we're at this point where we've done this lots of different series of lab testing and validation testing in the field as well, to get to a product that we know is going to survive out in the field. We still, anytime we sell a chem node, we always preface with that, there will be some type of service task or service item within 3 to 5 years. That could be a battery, possibly. It could be a sensor, possibly. Maybe the solar panel breaks because something hit it or something. That isn't what we don't see that. We don't really experience it that much. Our sensors tend to last for a very long time. The lab data and the field data, when you extrapolate it out, we're seeing 10 years and longer. But we set the expectation that expect some type of a system update, monitoring, what have you, service within that 3 to 5 year, as a just kind of a cautionary thing, because you never know what's going to happen, because there is, odds are something is going to happen. You need to return to the field to service.
Could I help answer that question?
Yes, and Seth is a great, if it's okay, I'll let him comment on this because this is his piece.
Yeah, so to your specific question, when we deployed with Stanford, Woodside, and Palo Alto, we worked on a maintenance protocol with them. And in essence, it turned out to be 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. So of their 50 sensors, we decided to err on the early end of the laboratory testing. So if something said that the laboratory said this component had a 3 to 4 year, useful life, we said at the beginning of 3 years, let's plan for maintenance and field replacement. This is the role of the Fire Safe Council. So we do all the in-field servicing and support. We can swap out those components anytime. But just to give you a representative example, of the 50 sensors, we're going to replace 1/3 of the certain components each year, another 1/3 of the other certain components the following year, and another 1/3 of the certain components one year, whether they needed it or not. That's the protocol that they chose. There's some flexibility in that protocol, but that's what they wanted to work with under the DHS criteria.
I'm just going to pass because I think what I was going to do is ask about the boundary between regions. For example, Palo Alto and Woodside, the protocols are different, response protocols are different, but the fire behavior is not different. So if there's a fire coming from sensors that are essentially in Palo Alto side, what does Woodside do? And I think I'm going to pass just so that we can.
Yeah, and that'll be part of the pilot program, right? We will sit down with County Fire, right? Chief Kurtgow and her team, and determine what they want to do for deployment, but each agency has some optimization. And real quickly, Mr. Spring, I just wanted to answer your question on the data. So I am working with Deputy Counsel John Mills and Sean, and we're going to be sharing all of the data from the sensors with the county. That's some of the things that we've worked on. And N5 has a very open protocol. And so whatever gets deployed in those 50 sensors throughout the county will be shared with the county, and they have full access to that data anytime they want to utilize it.
Again, I'm not so interested in people's getting access to it as much as it be an additive, preventive system for you. We're getting kind of late, so I'm going to cut this here. I know we're not here for, I know you got a lot of slides to show that would be interesting, and the technology committee will see those, so that'll be fun for them. I know that we don't have, there's no thing we have to do tonight. I would like to offer the general manager direction that, as I said before, I see this as an absolutely vital aspect of fire prevention that is perfect for us to go into and to add to our looking for any yeah. And so I think it looks like something we all want to do and move forward to. And I know there's a lot of steps because it's still early, contractualizing it, but we're on the steps to make this happen. And I just want to make that clear for our general manager's sake. So I don't want you to misinterpret our questions as anything other than wanting us to move forward. And again, understand expectations, because I think that's going to be important to set those correctly.
Well, thank you very much, board. Yeah, of course, if there's any questions, you can always find me.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And okay, let's see, any public comments? Okay, great. Let's see, anything else from General Manager Logan on this, or are we ready to move on? Okay, great. Moving on to 11A is to receive an update on the fiscal year 25 financial audit process. 11B is to discuss and consider the establishment of an ad hoc fiscal year 24-25 financial audit subcommittee. Finance and IT Manager Moriali will introduce this item.
President Spreen, Vice President McDonald, and commissioners and the public, thank you. I'll make this really quick. In terms of the status of the financial audit, as reported last time, the auditors will be in the field early August. We're actually compiling all the final reports right now as we speak, working with Corey and Serena in that process. So we're well underway. And you may notice that on tonight's agenda, you have preliminary June closing financial statements. Those will be modified over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks, but we're well on our way to the audit. So with that, President Spreen, I'll get to item 11B if you don't mind.
Please.
Yes, and 11B is it's a simple request, but an important one. It's for the commission to establish an ad hoc committee for the review of the fiscal year 24-25 financial audit. Last year, we had 2 representatives from the commission. I believe it was President Spreen and Commissioner Tyson. And we, again, welcome the creation of this commission again this year. It will end, I believe, in October. Is that correct, Corey? Is that the date that we have for the end date on that? Yes, on October. And it essentially involves a process where the auditors will present to the subcommittee, the ad hoc subcommittee, about a week or 2 before the audit comes to the full commission as a basis for asking questions, and most importantly, to give the auditors access to the ad hoc and ultimately access to the commission. So with that, that's the end of my report, President Spreen.
Great, thank you very much. So we need 2 of us to step forward to do audit committee. Would you be interested? Well, first we need to, let's see, this is just discussion. We need to put together a subcommittee of 2 of us so the auditors have access to us. They'll give us a report in advance. George and I did it last time. I'm happy to do it again. I'm happy to have anyone involved who wants to. I always tend to think of you guys as being already busy with things. So I think it'd be a good thing for you if you'd like to enter into a subcommittee. It's a short-term one. And
You have to do some travel times, unfortunately. So
okay.
When is this again?
It's only between now and October. It'll probably be 1 meeting and scheduled at your convenience with the auditors. Great. And okay.
By September. I think it's early September-ish.
Great. Excellent. In that case, I'd like to I guess the focus of the ad hoc, I'll read the verbiage. The focus of the ad hoc subcommittee will be to review the draft audit and meet with the auditors as the reports and materials are analyzed and compiled with an end date of no later than October 31st. As an ad hoc subcommittee, it will not be subject to the meeting rules required in the Brown Act and will be made up of less than a quorum of the commission, which is 3 or fewer members. This will be just 2. If the commission is amenable to the creation of this ad hoc subcommittee, I will now accept volunteers for said subcommittee. We have those. And I will need a motion from the commission to create this ad hoc fiscal year 24-25 financial audit subcommittee.
Happy to move that Mr. Dami and Mr. Basiji be members of the subcommittee.
And we have
second.
Thank you very much. Any public comment on that? Seeing none, let's go to a roll call.
President Spreen.
Yes.
Commissioner Basiji.
yes.
Commissioner Gadambi.
Yes.
Commissioner Tonga.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Okay, and the commission has approved the creation of the ad hoc subcommittee with Commissioners Gadambi and Commissioner Basiji serving, a count of 5-0, 2 absent.
Thank you very much, commissioners, for your participation. Now we on to item 12, personnel. Again, we've done this, we're used to this. There's a few items here that goes pretty quickly. So General Manager Logan, please present item 12A, which is a memorandum report for items 12B through H.
Yes, thank you. The staff memorandum report reviews the personnel actions by the commission at the June 24th meeting. And that was phase one. The actions recommended tonight are phase two, and subsequent actions will be presented at the August and September meeting, phase three. So agenda items 12B through 12H are to discuss and consider actions for 7 employment agreements. There are 5 proposed amendments and 2 new position descriptions and employment agreements. California Government Code Section 54953C3 requires the Commission to orally report a summary of the proposed compensation changes before taking final action to adopt that compensation, hereby approving the employment agreement. Key components of the proposed compensation are described in detail in the proposed employment agreements included in the agenda packet.
Thank you. Moving on to 12B.
12, I'll now summarize personnel item 12B. The proposed first amendment to the at-will full-time salaried community education and risk reduction manager employment agreement has an effective date of July 15th, 2025, and includes the following change. Benefits are amended as follows. Vacation leave, vacation hour accrual cap is increased to 240 hours. All other compensation and benefits remain unchanged.
Thank you. But we get ready to do a lot of motions and seconds here to happen. So everyone get on your triggers. Any questions? Seeing none. Any public comments? None. May I have a motion in a second?
I move that we approve this.
Thank you.
30 seconds.
Excellent. Any comments? Seeing none, let's take a roll call.
President Spring.
Yes.
Commissioner Basiji.
Yes.
Commissioner Kadambi.
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0, 2 absent.
Okay, I will now summarize personnel item 12C. The proposed First Amendment of the at-will full-time hourly project special risk reduction employment agreement has an effective date of July 15th, 2025, and includes the following changes. Benefits are amended to as follows. Vacation leave, vacation hour accrual cap is increased to 240 hours. If the district offers a retirement plan or health benefit plan, the employee will be eligible to enroll in such plans. All other compensation and benefits remain unchanged.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion in a second. Thank you. And great. And Tonka is second. Any public comments? Let's take a roll call.
President Spring.
Yes.
Commissioner Basiji. Yes. Commissioner Kadambi. Yes. Commissioner Tonka. Yes. Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0, 2 absent.
I will now summarize personnel item 12D. The proposed First Amendment to the at-will hourly administrative specialist employment agreement has an effective date of July 15th, 2025, and includes the following changes. Benefits are amended as follows. Vacation leave, vacation hour accrual cap is increased to 192 hours. If the district offers a retirement plan or health benefit plan, the employee will be made eligible to enroll in such plans. All of the compensation and benefits remain unchanged.
Thank you. Motion in a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comments? Seeing none, let's roll call.
President Spring.
Yes.
Commissioner Basiji. Yes. Commissioner Kadambi.
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka. Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0, 2 absent.
Thank you.
I will now summarize personnel item 12E. The proposed Fifth Amendment to the at-will full-time salaried programs planning and grants manager employment agreement has an effective date of July 15th, 2025, and includes the following changes. Benefits are amended as follows. Vacation leave, vacation hour accrual cap is increased to 240 hours. If the district offers a retirement plan or a health benefit plan, the employee will be eligible to enroll in such plans. All the compensation and benefits remain unchanged.
Thank you. Motion, please. Thank you. Any public comments? Seeing none, let's roll call. Yes.
Commissioner Kadambi. Yes. Commissioner Tonka. Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0, 2 absent.
I will now summarize personnel item 12F. The proposed First Amendment to the at-will full-time salaried community event specialist employment agreement has an effective date of July 15th, 2025, and includes the following changes to compensation. Wages, effective the first pay period of July 2025, sets the annual compensation at $141,059, which is equivalent to a rate of pay of $67.82 per hour. Benefits are amended as follows. Vacation leave, vacation hour accrual cap is increased to 40 hours. If the district offers a retirement plan or a health benefit plan, the employee will be eligible to enroll in such plans. All their compensation and benefit remains unchanged.
Thank you. Can I have a motion? Thank you. Any public comments? Seeing none, let's take a roll call.
Spring.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacy? Yes. Commissioner Kadabi? Yes. Commissioner Tonka? Commissioner Tyson? Yes. Motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
Thank you.
I will now summarize personnel item 12G. Please note that for the record, the employee's last name was a misprint in the original agenda posting. The correct name is Nazarova, Nazarova. The revised agreement has been sent to the commission and has been posted to the online agenda packet. The proposed at-will part-time temporary IHFR program specialist employment agreement and position description are included in the agenda packet. The agreement is effective July 16th, 2025, and no later than December 31st, 2025, and includes the following compensation. Wages, sets the rate of pay at $30 per hour. Total compensation during the term of the agreement shall not exceed $13,200. Benefits, the position will receive certain benefits, including sick leave accrual of 1 hour earned per 30 hours worked up to a maximum accrual of 80 hours. Accrued paid sick leave can be used beginning the 90th day of employment with no more than 40 hours used in any 1 year of employment. Uniform allowance of up to $700 for specific items identified in the proposed employment agreement. The proposed employment agreement does not provide material stipend, vehicle stipend, vacation, holiday pay, medical benefits, or retirement benefits. District provides laptop and supportive equipment necessary for performance of duties.
Great, thank you. Motion and second, please. Tyson and Kadambi, thank you. Any public comments? Seeing none, let's take a roll call. Yes.
Commissioner Kadabi? Yes. Commissioner Tonka? Yes. Commissioner Tyson? Yes. Motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
Thank you, and welcome to Anya, by the way. Moving on to 12H.
Yes, I will now summarize personnel item 12H. The proposed at-will part-time temporary finance program specialist 2 employment agreement and position description are included in the agenda packet. The agreement is effective July 16th, 2025 to no later than December 31st, 2025 and includes the following compensation. Wages, sets the rate of pay at $85 per hour. Total compensation during the term of the agreement shall not exceed $37,400. Benefits, the position will receive certain benefits, including sick leave accrual of 1 hour earned per 30 hours worked up to a maximum accrual of 80 hours. Accrued paid sick leave days can be used beginning the 90th day of employment with no more than 40 hours used in any 1 year of employment. The proposed employment agreement does not provide material stipend, vehicle stipend, vacation, holiday pay, medical benefits, or retirement benefits. District provides laptop and supportive equipment necessary for performance of duties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion in a second, please. CG moves. Tonka seconds. Thank you. Any public comments? Seeing none, let's take a roll call. Yes.
Commissioner Pacy? Yes. Commissioner Kadabi? Yes. Commissioner Tonka? Yes. Commissioner Tyson? Yes. Motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
And welcome to Jane as well. Thank you. Thank you for all that, General Manager. Moving on to item 13, Commission Member Reports. This is an opportunity for commissioners to provide reports or any future agenda topics, any comments or any, usually isn't, but I will save just for completeness. Any public comment on this? Seeing none, we will move right ahead to 13B. This is the notice that the next regular commission meeting is scheduled for August 19th, 2025, in person and hybrid. Hopefully everything works then at the Town Hall Council Chambers. Any comments from the commission? Everyone planning on being here? Not a bad date, is it? Don't think so. Any public comments on that date? Seeing none. In that case, we move on to item 14, everyone's favorite, adjournment. This concludes July 15th, 2025, regular meeting of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. The meeting is adjourned at 9:20 p.m. District Clerk Vargas, please stop the recording.